Kill your darlings. It's a phrase that every writer has heard during the dreaded editing process. That perfect interview snippet, that line that works itself into the script that sums up the whole plot, the best bass solo you've ever heard. They're absolutely amazing works of art, and you're so proud of them. But there's not enough time in the broadcast. There isn't a reason for that character to be there in this scene. Or it's already too crowded in the mix to add anything else. Then the chopping block is rolled in, and your favorite bits have to end up on the cutting room floor. I want to revive your darlings. I asked some artist in my life, tell me what you wish could have made it. I wanted to know what they've left behind as they made these things that I've consumed as a fan, a student, and a friend.
Cool. How are we doing now? It's a little. There we go.
Okay.
Like that looks right.
Yeah.
Cool.
My professor, Connor, is a documentarian.
Killing your darlings is often very much a process of letting go of some of the instrumental things that started a project, but don't need to be there in the end.
We watched his short film, Imagine a Body, in class to talk about the editing process.
Imagine a Body was a film that is all about hormone replacement therapy, specifically testosterone, and takes a spiritual approach. The process of making that film was conducting, I think it was 7 interviews with different trans guys and having a conversation, all kind of surrounding testosterone, but then going on their own tangents about gender identity and our relationship to gender identity. And the process of editing was very weird. It was not how I usually edit a film, but it was really going through transcripts and brainstorming and a lot of writing and finding images that could go alongside those pieces in order to create something that could really feel like an expression of spiritual queerness.
Connor had to cut out a large portion of one of his best interviews for the project.
His name was Jordan Decker. He's an amazing human being. He's a pastor. He does a lot of incredible work with health resources and specifically helping trans people who are recovering from surgery. And he speaks amazingly. Like I said, he's like a Southern pastor. He has like a beautiful voice. It's just wonderful to listen to. He talks about having bottom surgery. And when you have bottom surgery, there's a skin graft that needs to get taken of your arm. They're pretty big and kind of gnarly. And his caretaker was not taught how to do bandages and didn't know how to do bandages, but he had some health practice, so he just did it himself. And he has this beautiful line about unwrapping the bandages, and the quote is, "I cried from the depths of my toenails, but not because I was sad or had any regrets, but because I recognized the sacrifice my divine feminine had to make for my divine masculine."
Later on, he found a perfect spot to revive his darling.
And I opened the film with him for a while, and I closed the film with him for a while. But in feedback sessions, we talked about his dialogue and how it was like almost too profound. Like he sort of stood out from the pack. And so in the final film, the only actual line he has in the film is talking about ass hair.
You know, I knew hair was gonna grow. I have no idea why we have ass hair. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
That's it. That's where he stayed. And it was really sad to say goodbye to, but we ended up having a conversation about it later, and I showed him the film, and I kind of explained, hey, you kind of just have this one throwaway line. But everything we talked about definitely informed the film as a whole. I still have that interview, and I'm actually working on another piece that works solely with some of our conversation.
My roommate Jonas
Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, wait. Here. Hello.
is a playwright and a filmmaker. I was a test reader for their play/movie/short film called Homily.
It's mostly a process of addition in the beginning because, I went from a small kind of like for class project play to like a 1-act play to a 2-act play. And so that whole process was a lot of adding things to it. The short film that became Homily, Homily became a short film, and that short film is the first act of the play. There's this character called Jaleb, and they're a big part of the play, but they're not in the film at all. They represent a lot to Nelson as a character. They are like a big building block to turn Nelson to what he is in the moment that the show starts, the short starts, and not having that was weird to me.
Cam is my friend who runs a podcast called What I Will Say. She talks about all things regarding gossip, celebrity news, and mainly focuses on Taylor Swift.
Having to let go of Taylor Swift as this sort of activist icon has been that's a darling I've had to kill off, because she's not maybe 100% who I thought she was. And my listener base for my podcast, where we talk about Taylor Swift a lot, they're all sort of, everyone's frustrated at, she's shown a lot of apathy about politics lately, about, she's from Tennessee and there have been laws attacking the LGBT communities in Tennessee. She has, of course, not really said a word about the genocide going on in Palestine. And a lot of my listeners are really frustrated with that.
Throughout the years, she's had to think of Taylor Swift in a different way than she's used to.
And I have kind of had to publicly say, like, I've let activist Taylor Swift go. So I'm not expecting activist Taylor Swift as much as my darling as she used to be.
Killing your darlings is so funny because it's such violent language. It can be a violent experience, and then you add the language on top of it. But I think the beauty of that process is there's sort of a selflessness in it. And in letting go of those nuggets of a piece that we get really attached to, the project becomes less about you and you creating something great and more about just whatever that project needs to be.